President. I seek leave to make a brief explanation before asking a question of the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs regarding Aboriginal affairs.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted.
In Daily has today reported that tomorrow's budget will include $5.8 million to establish a commission to undertake truth-telling and progress treaty activities, with a commission commencing after the 30th of June this year. This article goes on to say that the government money would also support further work towards a treaty, a formal agreement between the state government and Aboriginal South Australians. In September of 2023, I asked the Minister a question about treaty and whether he would rule out the payment of reparations to Indigenous South Australians. The Minister's response was, and I quote, "As I said, I'm not going to, as I didn't when the Honourable Rob Lucas asked me questions about what will or won't form treaty discussions or negotiations," end quote. My questions to the Minister today are: 1, will the Minister rule out the payment of reparations and compensation as a part of treaty process? 2, if not, how much will this cost taxpayers? And 3, how is this new expense justified amidst a cost of living crisis and with the potentially $50 billion state debt looming?
Deputy Premier.
Well, I think they're a member for a question. As I said, we certainly won't be lectured about spending by those opposite who've racked up $1.6 billion, $1.6 billion in new spending since the election. And I can go through some of that. They're shaking their heads. For example, $520 million stamp duty exemption for first-time buyers. $350
Members
million
on my left.
Order. $200 million to raise
Order.
the payroll tax-free threshold. These are the sorts of things that are contributing to the $1.6 billion
Mr. Alamo.
just since the election.
Point of order, the Honourable Mr. Hood.
Sir, the question was about treaty and the cost of the treaty.
All right. Thank you. I don't need your help. No, he's answering the question. He can answer how he likes. Deputy Premier.
As much as we all appreciate the advice from the Honourable Dennis Hood about how a president should or shouldn't rule, it is obviously very helpful. The question did mention spending and spending priorities, so I think I'm very happy to talk about what the Liberals are spending on. In relation to the other parts of the question that was asked, I think the Honourable Member talked about a commitment of $5.8 million. Is $8.5 million. I misheard and thought it was 5.8 that was mentioned. It's 8.5 that's mentioned in the Daily article. The Honourable Member specifically asked about reparations. We don't do what the Liberal Party so often did and come into things that require consultation with pre-formed, prejudged views. What I will say, sir, in relation to treaty discussions and negotiations, these are not new things to South Australia. We've previously had treaty discussions and negotiations in South Australia that culminated with Adyamat, the Nurrungeri and Narungga nations that culminated in the Buthera Agreement that was supported and endorsed and upheld by the former Liberal government. Yeah, one of the things I'll say, to their credit. In all of the negotiations and discussions that have had in South Australia about treaty before, reparations have not been included as part of them.
Supplementary, the Honourable Ms Henderson.
Will the Deputy Premier today rule out the payment of reparations and compensation as a part of the treaty process?
Thank you, sir. Reparations have not been part of any treaty discussion, and they have been extensive already in South Australia. The sorts of things that have been included in treaty discussions are how improvements can be made and government responsibilities in areas like justice, healthcare, child protection, and particularly economic development, what levers the government has to pull in relation to economic development in different Aboriginal communities and Aboriginal nations.
Further supplementary, Ms Henderson.
When will the Minister and his government be transparent with the South Australian people when it comes to reparations and compensation of Aboriginal South Australians to the South Australian people? When will the Deputy Premier be transparent with the South Australian people as to whether or not we can expect to see reparations and compensation?
I find that difficult. Do you want to answer that, Deputy Premier? If not, I'll call upon the Honourable Mr Wortley.
So we can read